What are some of the goals for this year for the Hermiston School District?
I would say across the board, we're always looking at student achievement. Our board sets goals for the district, so looking at increased student achievement for all of our students, and student test scores just came out for the state of Oregon, and it's really easy to compare, for example, third grade this year to third grade last year. What we look at is cohort growth, so we're really looking down to individual students within the district and saying, how is this student making growth in this particular area? So that always is a goal for us with academics. Again, for our board to be fiscally responsible, be good stewards of the public dollars. So we have that going on, and to really engage our community is one of our major goals and focus areas this year. We are doing some parent engagement seminars. That's something a little bit different for us, really trying to provide a set of resources and supports to parents. As you know, in a school district, we can provide the supports to students K-12, but really to be partners with our families, looking at how we can better engage our families throughout the course of this year. We brought in Alex Boyer for our students this year and did a parent evening event, if you will. The rain didn't help us out that night, but really looking at ways we can engage all of our families.
What are some of the biggest challenges that the Hermiston School District is facing?
Definitely workforce capacity across the board. That's not unique to Hermiston. Teachers, making sure that we're growing teachers, and we're doing that through programs in the district and how we're supporting both our current employees, but also how we're looking at growing teachers when we work with our students and our pathway for education. So workforce, and that isn't just this year, that's something that we're looking at for the future. Really re-engaging our students and making sure that they're showing up, developing that culture of showing up. So those pieces, I think, you know, as a superintendent, obviously we're always looking at enrollment and, you know, how that's going to impact the future. Definitely that's how schools are funded, so budget, enrollment, those pieces. But really for us, I think that really looking at, we know we can't be everything to every student, but how can we be something for every student, and really looking at ways that we can connect with our students and make school a safe, positive place for all of our kids, and really promote instruction through that avenue.
And when you say workforce is one of those, is that staffing?
Yes, okay. Staffing across the board, qualified teachers. We are in a unique situation in that we've seen some growth this year. We're looking at some growth with our ADM, so our enrollment, and that impacts funding again. So looking at some growth, we have some great class sizes across the board. We've been able to keep some low class sizes, which is going to allow our teachers really to make those one-on-one connections with all of our students. But along with that, Oregon, the United States, is facing this teacher shortage, and how do we grow staff, grow teachers, but also support our staff that we have. So we have instructional assistants, for example, that are going to school to be a teacher. How can we support them and support their, you know, their academic growth and their pathway to getting that teaching license ultimately?
How were the teachers in the Hermiston School District impacted by COVID?
I think that we don't have a teacher that went to school thinking, I'm going to be a teacher and I want to be on one side of a computer from my students and have them be on the other. And it's really hard to make connections. So I think across the board for all of our teachers, and we are definitely, I think we're in a better spot. The start of the school year has been very exciting. It feels we're normal. We have all the normal things going on. We had homecoming week. We had all those kid activities. So from that aspect, I think we're coming out of that. But our students don't automatically revert to the connections they had before the pandemic, and it takes a little bit to undo the isolation that was done during that time. We know that across the board our kids are facing more mental health struggles than they have, and social media, all of those other pieces don't help with that. But I think that makes the job for our teachers more difficult. And teaching, I always say, it's a hard job, but it's a heart job, and our teachers teach from the heart. And so anytime a student struggles, our teachers feel that struggle. And coming out of the pandemic, you know, again, slowly we're getting closer and closer to what we would say is normal, pre-COVID normal. But again, those relationships that, you know, that took a break, how do we get all of our kids back and develop a culture of showing up?
Yeah, and I've seen that push for mental health resources for, I think, all people, but teenagers especially. How are you taking those problems in the school district and, I guess, physically manifesting solutions for students?
We have some great partnerships with our county. Umatilla County has a care program that's a wraparound program to provide services to families and students. So we have that piece that's outside of the school. Hermiston School District employs 4 social workers, so we have school counselors at every building, and in addition, social workers that can be that next level of support for our students and kind of bridge a gap between school and home. We are working on resources for our families as well, and how we can connect our families with resources with our parent health, our parent seminar series that's coming up. We have our initial seminar in October, and then one a month. We have 6 going on this year, so really trying to connect. While we can't provide direct support, we don't have the capacity to provide direct support outside of the school day, really trying to connect with those other resources that are available in our community and in our county.
How were students impacted by, and you already kind of answered this, but how were students impacted by the pandemic?
I think the biggest impact really is the isolation that we all felt across the board. Everyone felt very isolated in the pandemic, and when for our students that are at a point in their lives where they're developing and forming those relationships and really relying on that was very impactful for all of our kids to feel that sense of isolation. And no matter how, you know, as far as the reach out you can do across a computer, right, like those pieces, it was just different when you were in your home and really felt isolated, and I think our kids still struggle with that.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like there was a wave of learning loss throughout the students in the Hermiston School District based on the pandemic?
I would say I struggle with learning loss, more with opportunity loss, I guess I would say, because again, no matter what, the relationship, the conversation is different, and we know this even as adults when we're doing Zoom meetings. The conversation is different when you are across a computer instead of, you know, sitting next to people in a room. And when we see our kids in classrooms today, they're having not just the interaction with the teacher, but the interaction with their peers, so they're able to share their learning with someone right next to them. That doesn't happen the same way with a computer. So I think definitely there was an opportunity gap, and I think across the board our teachers did the best they could, our kids did the best they could, our families did the best they could with the resources that we all had at the time and the capacity we had to engage our students in learning. But there's no substitute for the connection of being in a space with your peers and with your teachers and just with humans, right? That human interaction that's very different when you're in person versus over a computer.
Mm-hmm. Something that I think a lot of people are thinking about right now when it comes to schools is safety. Mm-hmm. And there's been nationwide a lot of violence in schools. Is that something that that parents have brought up that students are worried about, or that's a community issue here?
I would say that with, again, social media impacts us so much. We know things real time, and anything that's going on really anywhere, not just in Hermiston, but in the world, in our country, that we're right away aware of. And so yes, I believe that you know, all of our families, our students, our staff, we're very aware of that. We're fortunate in Hermiston. We have an amazing working relationship with Hermiston Police Department. We have 3 school resource officers that work full-time in our buildings. So that definitely, that the communication, the support we have is very helpful. I think our administrators, our staff are very in tune to what's going on and keeping a close eye on our students and being out and about with our students. So yes, and as a superintendent, that's always something that is on my mind constantly. But at the same point, I think we have a very supportive community, and a community that is very concerned for all of our students and wrapping around all of our students. And that partnership and the relationships, again, is what helps us keep our students safe on a daily basis.
And another big thing that's in headlines right now is artificial intelligence. Is there any way that the Hermiston School District has been addressing this for teacher use, for student use, anything like that?
There are schools that have blocked some of that, and I think we're kind of looking at things differently. Our school district, our vision statement is future focused, right? Building knowledge and skills for tomorrow, and artificial intelligence isn't going to go away. And so what we need to do is teach our students how to use the resources that are out there and know about the resources that are out there and use them appropriately. So really, in part of it is with that artificial intelligence, I think the concern, like, okay, who's really doing the work? Which in all of that, then what happens in the classroom becomes even more critically important. How are we gauging what our students are learning today? Because when they go out, we don't know where that answer is coming from, I guess, or the information is coming from. So for us, it's embracing what's going on with technology and the world around us, including artificial intelligence, and saying how can we prepare our students to go out into the world that right now we can't even imagine. And for especially when we look at our kindergartners, who knows what their jobs are going to be? How do we use what we know today to plan for a future that's really unknown to all of us?
Is there anything especially important for parents to know about this school year?
More than anything, it is for parents to know that we want to be a partner with them, that we need them to partner with us too. It takes a village to raise a child, and we really want to be a part of that village with all of our parents. We all have the same goal. We want our students to be able to come to school every day and be safe and healthy and happy and thrive in their learning environment, and really prepare them for what their next steps are, whatever those look like. But I think we are in this world where things can be a little isolating, and really just knowing that parents, like, this is a judgment-free zone. We want to work with all of our parents, and it's all about our kids. We have the same goal, and we all care about our kids. So I think that would be the biggest message is we're in this together, and we want to support our parents and our families.
Do you think that COVID made, in a way, an improvement for teachers, in that teachers were able to quicker adapt, and administration as well, to quicker adapt to new things that were happening and new challenges?
I think that, well, I would say this about anything. You don't know what you can do until you're forced to do it. And really in education, we did a 180. For so long, prior to the pandemic, we would tell kids, don't talk to an adult online. And in the pandemic, we're like, okay, connect with your teacher online, right? Don't have a lot of screen time, it's not good. Okay, we need you to have screen time, right? And so what we learned is that I think collectively when we come together, we can move mountains, right? Because who would have thought, like, we could completely revamp how we instruct, what we've known education to be. Who would have thought we could completely change that in the course of less than a week, right? And continue to modify that and build that and adapt as we go. So I think that would be the biggest. When we come together, like, we can move mountains and we can make a difference. And I think coming out of that, our teachers have learned some of those tools and tricks and have been able to use those and really leverage those resources, and our instruction is that much better because our students are used to the screen, they're used to their phones, they're used to their computers, and we need to leverage where our kids are at to be able to get them where they need to go. So I think it definitely, it was a stressful time, I will say that, but across the board I think teachers did an amazing job, schools did an amazing job being there for our families, and what I can't imagine as for a parent that relies on education, and I'm a parent, so during the pandemic I had kids in school, but my kids were older, so we completely flipped what our community did. We had parents still going to work and trying to figure out how they were going to get their elementary student to online school, right? So I think as not just teachers, but we came together as a community to figure out some creative solutions for our kids. And out of that, we also, I think, came back from the pandemic with what are our core values and beliefs about how we interact with one another, how our students should learn, how we're going to engage families. And I think in all of that, well, definitely I would not want to go back. I think that we're better now because of what we learned. We have some ground to make up with our kids, without a doubt, and with our adults, right? Just with regard to all of us, you know, our mental health and resources and the support for one another. But I do think that we're better than what we were before.
Are there any big things that are happening in the next couple of weeks, months that we should be on the lookout for in the Hermiston School District?
We are really working toward, again, and I talked about this, having a little something for everybody. So in October, we have Anna Pusey Landon. She is an author that was a Hermiston student coming back, and she's going to visit all of our elementary buildings. There's going to be an evening event on October 10th. Also on October 10th, we have our first in our parent seminar series going on. On October 13th, the Portland Opera to Go is going to be at Hermiston High School. It is a free event to the public. There's a showing at 3 o'clock and at 5 o'clock. So just kind of, again, trying to be something different. So we have some different unique events going on. Obviously, you know, athletics, activities, all of those other things. But those are kind of some big things coming up in the month of October.